What is good, family? If you're in here, you're early, we're warming up. Just checking the audio, check 1, 2, 3, make sure we're all good. We're gonna get live in a bit. Hold your horses. What's good, Hale? Just yeah, quick update. Because every time if I'm in the same chat as you, basically the whole stream can hear you guys. So I just took it aside for a sec.
That's alright.
But yeah,
how am I coming through? Is it alright?
Yeah, you sound all good. Everything's alright. Just basically giving you a heads up. If you go live with your camera in the Gila gossip in the show. And I'm just gonna set up the cameras on my overlay, and then we'll get started.
You want on here or?
No, in the Gila gossip. I was just I don't know why I had a brain lapse. I thought coming in here they wouldn't hear you in the shit, like they would hear you either way, bro. But yeah.
All right, I'll hop on over back to the server then.
All right. And yeah, Jaatster, just to let you know, I'm muting my mic and all that. But yeah, just set your cameras up and. We'll get it.
Hello. So we're doing a moving over. Okay. Yeah. Hi.
Wait, do we have an agenda for today? Things to talk about? So I can quickly go over it. Yeah.
Okie dokie. Welcome. If you're in if you're just chilling there right now, I can see. Okay, there's a couple people in the chat. Make sure you go share this on Twitter, but we want to get this out there. I know there's a lot going on today. I'll be real. There is a lot of things live right now, so yeah, it's weird being live on a Thursday, but yo, you gotta do what you gotta do. But I'm excited to be here today with two very special people right now, man. It's it's gonna get active. But I'm gonna give it a few more minutes, 2 minutes or so. We are just warming up. I'm setting up overlays as well, just completely candid. Your boy is getting there. Soon we'll have a whole team behind the podcast itself, and we'll get that show. But right now, I'm out here on OBS grinding, putting the work in. So yeah, but make sure you guys are ready. It's going to be a really important episode today. I think it's going to be big for us to, get to be able to hear both Jaatster and Hale talk about their roles. And I'm excited for both of them. So, this is a big episode for me as well. Hale recently I've spoken to, and Jaatster, obviously a long-standing friend in Origins. So yeah, there's a lot to get into that I'm excited for. So I hope you guys are excited too. Man, yo chat, I'm low-key sad. I can't lie to you. Cairo's gonna bully me for this. I'm gonna get some abuse, but we're gonna start, man, because really the conversation is important. Yes, we want to get your beautiful faces on here. Jaatster has a crisp camera, so does Hale, and I'm sad that I can't showcase the both of them properly. But we're gonna get started because I don't want to keep you like waiting here. All right, let's get to it. All right then, fam. You know what it is. We're here. Welcome back for another episode of Gila Gossip. It's your boy Gila. You've probably seen a lot of the stuff recently on Twitter. I've been pushing for all my poison boys out there, all my poison girls as well. and you know, we're having a hard time, but there's lots of things, you know, going around there. I'm still having fun in the arena personally, and I'm sure there's elements that are keeping you guys in the arena as well. We're gonna get to the nitty gritties today, though. I think there's a lot of important points to kind of touch on. But I am joined today with two official, we can say that now, yeah, official Sky Mavis employees, my boys Jaatster and Hale. And please, family, before I do this transition right here, excuse the way that this looks, but for the culture, let's get it done. Welcome, welcome, welcome. Introduce yourselves, my people. We have my boy Hale and Jaatster both here. Who wants to go first, man? Jaatster's a seasoned vet on this show, I'll be honest with you. But Hale, this is your first time, so I think we'll start off with you, man. Welcome.
Yeah, sure. How's it going? Hey, thank you for having us on. How's everyone doing? This is Hale. I'm one of the community, just game design analysts. Just recently announced on Twitter with that, and happy to be here.
Yeah, awesome, bro. Like you just touched on as well, I'm going to define this at some point. But the role itself is actually community game design analyst, right?
That's right.
Perfect. All right, then. And we also have the man himself. You know him, Jaatster, the guy that creates the maddest compositions I've ever seen in my life. But they work. They just know that they work. But Jaatster, welcome back, my bro.
Thank you. Hello guys, this is me again for I think it's the fourth time here, third or fourth time.
Yeah, something like that. I think so. You definitely made like a sneak appearance on one of the episodes. I remember that towards the end. But yeah, Jaatster's been here a couple times. You know, I've had a really good relationship with Jaatster, and you know, I mean, aside from this podcast and stuff, Jaatster, bro, I'm proud of you. And yeah, man, I'm excited for your future. But glad to have you back here for sure.
Thank you.
So yeah, I personally wanted this episode. You know, I was gonna call it quits this week. I was gonna say, listen, you know, Axie meetup is in London. It's gonna be covering that whole Friday period. We just got off the back of interviewing, you know, 1437, and if you haven't, go check that out on the channel afterwards. So we've done a lot recently, and I really was looking to say, you know, I'll take a week off. It's cool. We'll figure it out. We'll get back, you know, the week after 14th or whatever the date is. But then we had some great news that dropped on Monday. And as you lot probably know, we said it enough times now. But yeah, the announcement happened where you guys are going to be officially brought onto the Sky Mavis team and work on the game design elements of things. So for me, I was like, oh, shit. You know, a big thing about what I do and what I want to do in the space is you know, totally revolving around the community and growth of people within the community. And it's something that like I've had a lot of pride with seeing that happen, you know, around me since fully getting involved. So when I heard the announcement, I was like, oh, no brainer. You know, Hale, you were supposed to come on and do some bite-sized content ideas that I had, and it never came to fruition in that moment of time. So it was always, you know, I always wanted it to happen. And then Jaatster, of course, you know, when something like this gets announced, I want to celebrate, bro. So initially, you know, I organized the episode as a celebratory event. So that we could come through and, you know, just get to know more about you guys. So I do want to start off with that essence, and I think, you know, Hale, you can lead us on this one, but just introduce yourself a little bit more behind, you know, the Axie, just yourself, like you guys.
Yeah, sure, absolutely. So we'll start with Axie, then we'll go backwards from there.
Yeah.
So for a bit, you know, just prior to you know, stuff I put out on Twitter, and a lot of it, you know, it's like just very data driven, and I try to engage where I can, try to touch on those points, and just trying to help everyone quell those. There's a lot of misconceptions out there. You know, Rage Infinity, for example, Glacius had a wonderful thread on that, and you know, like I try to give everyone like just enough information so that they can work with it and just kind of make like informed decisions from there. But like we were already actually on the feedback group along with like a lot of other personalities, along with other pros and everything else. And you know, this is just the official role. All of them are still very active. You know, still giving your opinions.
That's nice though. That was something I was gonna touch on later on, but yeah.
Oh yeah, well we'll dig into it later, no problem. But yeah, about myself, a little bit of background in programming that wasn't apparent.
Okay. Yep.
But the day
Yeah.
job is aviation. I'm a pilot,
Wow.
and
Sheesh.
yeah, yeah. So
That's big, you know. That's crazy, bro. I wouldn't have you like
yeah,
you pulled that out of the hat, man. I would not have. I know it's kind of weird to say, yo, look at this person and guess his occupation, like, but like that's blown my mind a little bit. Like, how do you find the time to do as much analytics as you do?
it's that's exactly it. It's a little bit difficult. I am lucky. I do fly local mostly, so it's I'm out in the morning, I'm out in the evening, but then I'm always back in the other half.
Yeah.
So we find time, and it's also the same reason maybe we had a little bit of difficulty getting that
Yeah.
earlier size segment out, but
No, of
happy to be
course.
here.
Yeah, 100%. No, we'll dig again. There's a lot of things we can dig into a little more later in the episode with there. But now, man, welcome. I'm happy. I'm happy, man. Jaatster,
Good to be
we've
here.
had conversation before. I know. Literally, if you listen to the first ever Gila gossip, this is an Easter egg right now.
Yeah.
If you listen to the first ever Gila gossip, you can save 2 minutes of what might have happened here on the podcast, because you can get to know Jaatster fully. I know you've had a background in gaming, and it was not traditionally card gaming at all, but fast forward to where we are today, and your involvement starting in Axie earlier this year, was full on. And if you look at someone's kind of like, I don't want to say career path, but like your journey through starting Axie to today, it's been turbocharged, and I feel like that kind of is a bit of you. You when you put your mind to something and you go in depth on some of these things, like you go in, but as much as I know that about you, I mean, is there anything you kind of want to say to openly to the community as stepping into this role kind of now, like how much it really, might mean to you to have this kind of role, and for it to all kind of happen so fast? Like, did you expect this?
First of all, like it was not expected at all, right? Like
Yeah.
a few months ago when I started, like the goal was just to be a good player, be involved in the community, make some friends, like have a place in Lunasia. But like I really loved Origin as a game.
Yeah.
And the concept of blockchain gaming in itself, right? That's something that I always loved, and I like it was a dream basically, right? To make something out of it, just have my name out there, like, okay, this guy is doing something. And just I wanted to dedicate everything I had, like, to just gaming, and Axie is where I found my home. And I think I've spent like the past 4 or 5 months is like building. It's basically Axie. Like I've spent most of my time, like 10 to 12 hours a day.
Yeah.
Like either I'm playing or I'm interacting with the community, just like theory crafting, doing bunch of weird shit, like just exploring the marketplace. Like I remember like reading one of Cairo's tweets back when I started. Like initially he was like, he can stay on the marketplace whole day. And I was like, what's there to look at the marketplace? You just see what you need, you buy it, and then you get off. Like why are you gonna, like, how can that become addicting? And that's something that I also experienced.
Yeah.
Like I spent like not like around 1,000+ hours, maybe even more, just browsing the marketplace, getting to know the ecosystem and stuff. So yeah, like from where I started and where I'm today, it's just I never expected even like 10% of it happening like a few months back.
Yeah, of what's kind of come to fruition, and the reality of things now. It's pretty bizarre. Pretty damn bizarre.
Definitely.
But yo, as you were saying, you invested like a ton of time into the game itself, and like it came from obviously that time was invested from wanting, was it to find more out for the game for yourself, or was it more so that like this game is genuinely really fun, you're drawn to it, but you want to make it better? Because I think it was definitely well known amongst a wider community, and even conversation we've had in the past, that like the game is good, like the essence of it is there's so much potential, but like it was missing these little things. So that kind of being the inspiration for how much effort you've put into the game kind of aligns perfectly with the role that you are going to play, so I think I'm excited for that. But so just to like fully give everyone an understanding, as we said, the role is labeled as community game design analyst. So really to give us a full description on that, so like we completely understand, what is the job that you guys are intended to do?
Yeah, I think Hale can explain it
Sure.
the
Yeah,
best.
absolutely. Like without going into like the deep bullet points of it, I think the way I would describe it is like it's like a bridge.
Yeah.
And I believe like this is it's a feeling that a lot of people in the community sometimes might have, where there's like a difficulty in kind of expressing themselves.
Mhm.
And that's what Jaatster and I are here to do. Absolutely. And we try to do as much engagement as we can on Twitter. We're always, like Jaatster said, he's on probably more than I am. And we'll try to respond, and we'll look into the problems, and we'll forward them where we can. So community is the first word on there, and that's absolutely what we're pushing for initially. And it's game design analysts. So it's like, we're not necessarily like the experts. We obviously will still defer to a lot of the opinions from the professional players, to people who are heavy on breeding, to people who are heavy on, like just like the competitions and everything. There's all sorts of different aspects. And, again, like community is up front, and that's where we're trying to bridge everyone across, from the team to the players, to the organizations and everything else.
Yeah.
So, anything and everything from like just listening to bug reports, just anything that might be peeving players, like just making the game more fun.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, that's most of it.
I think the
Like
key.
it's pretty.
Yeah. You're carrying.
Yeah.
Sorry, my bad.
I don't know. Go ahead.
I was just gonna say, like, I think the key, you mentioned it. The key word there was bridge, and it's something that I always thought about. With there are so many opinions that kind of go around in this game, in a competitive circuit. Whether it was Axie or a different game completely. Within and amongst the top players and the height of the meta, there's always various opinions that fly around, and being able to compose and then even compress, filter the right knowledge. In and towards the actual development company themselves, where they can deal with that information in the right way, and then also as much as the bridge being a one-way thing where community feedback is coming in and assisting the game, then also Sky Mavis can filter things out to assist the community and have them understand as well. So that makes me a lot more at ease, hearing that role kind of accommodates for that communication line, because I think at the pinnacle of improvement growth, especially on a community basis, has to be that communication. The words basically marry up and they have it within each other. That communication being clear and structured will be huge. Something that I wanted to touch on was so like originally the council was kind of formed early September, right? And it consisted of yourselves, both of you guys, the number one player, Theban at the time. Well, he was number one. He won it by that point. Is after AxieCon, and then Meat Value from Quest as well, which again is another amazing mind in the community. So those two guys are now obviously still going to be involved in some way, shape, or form, because like you will be the bridge, the filter for the community. So obviously these guys are huge parts of the community, and their communication with you then gets filtered straight through to Sky Mavis. But does this then open up for a much bigger, much more diverse layer of communications that can come in towards Sky Mavis, now that it's not a select council these are the only people we listen to? It's now actually, or here's a bridge, and anybody can kind of put something forward here.
Yeah, I think it is creating, like, instead of like having a room of like everyone, they're all talking to each other. It's just it comes out as like a bit noisy, like there's all really good opinions, and what we're really after is being able to kind of, like, in the word you said, is filter, but then I want to say it's more like bubbling up and bringing to the surface what it is that is actually like the resounding concern for most people. Because like for example, like on Twitter, you'll have people having the same concern, but they all have different opinions on like how it should be settled. And so something we really want to be able to identify is like, what is the root of that pain point? Like, what is it that's actually causing that, and can we find a solution that makes everyone happy? But that's a difficult thing. But then for the best of the game, for the majority of the players, and whatever's most fair as well, whatever's good. So in regard to like the council and the community in general, a lot of it's kind of like, if you imagine it to imagine like passing the message up and just it's got to filter down. So like I mentioned a while ago, like we do obviously still defer a lot of the opinions to like we'll talk to pro player. I personally like try to reach out to like if I know someone particularly heavily plays a certain comp and I want to get an opinion on that comp, I'll go out to those players.
Yeah,
You know,
the
because like
experience
you wanna
base
talk
is
to.
definitely there as well,
Yep.
isn't it? You know, like as understanding as you are as like these are top players, like it doesn't take away from the fact that somebody may have played the same composition for 2 seasons straight and had gone through all the adjustments and kind of still have a, you know, a much bigger holistic picture on, you know, the balance of this play style than somebody else. So that's you know, even that in itself is huge.
Yeah, absolutely. And like what I wanted to touch on that was I understood that there was a little bit of concern, particularly you know with the involvement of pro players and how they might have like whatever
Yeah.
advantages, and that was a concern that came up. And like one thing I will say is that you just absolutely cannot discount the wealth of knowledge that comes from these people because if I you know I've been gaming for like years and years of my life, and it's just like you really can identify that they're just thinking on a different level. You
Yeah.
know, a lot of people sometimes will come on Twitter and they'll say like, you know, play poison, click poison, play rage, click rage,
Yeah.
you know, play aqua,
But
click attack cards. But
There's
then
a
like
lot
if
more
you
under
get
the
on,
surface.
it's so much deeper to it. You know, there's all these small nuances and considerations. So you get on any top player's stream, you'll notice them doing things and they've got all these ideas popping in your head and you're watching them. If you put it on mute, you'd be telling just play the Shiba, dude, just play the Shiba.
Yeah.
But then half the time they're thinking whether or not they should. You know,
Yeah.
it's
they're
not as
thinking like
straightforward.
3 rounds ahead.
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah.
what does that Shiba do for them? Like in 3 rounds ahead.
Yeah. Now there's
And
a level barrier almost, you know, where, you know, understanding goes much further. And like this is why sometimes I have to remove myself from it, because as much as I love this game and I'm heavily involved, I do understand a lot of the mechanics, and I try to think of myself as, yeah, I know my shit, man. I'm nice. But like that level, like you said, sometimes you can just tell that, you know, there is a whole nother platform that these guys are just thinking upon. So I don't think it's a huge concern of mine personally, but you know there is various opinion out there that it could be very, you know, biased if these are the best players in the world, these are the ones that are going to be listened to, so they have that ability to maybe push their own agenda or their bias kind of forward. So yeah, how do you plan on kind of tackling that? Like, is there a way where any forms of serious communication that could lead to actual changes, or you know, before next steps are taken, would we have some form of like public access as a community to see what has been discussed about, and will then the decision making kind of, obviously ultimately if we look at it like a structure of like how decisions are made, at the top obviously is going to be Sky Mavis, the development company himself will make that decision, right? But as community members and as players of the game, will there be methods for us to at least see what is being considered as that process kind of broadens out?
yeah, I think like
Yeah, you take this
for
one.
for the community, I think it was mentioned there like plans for a public test environment, right? Public beta test environment to be in place sometime in the future, so that before major changes get implemented in the game, the community can test it out. But as for like, you know, when someone mentions if someone is playing, let's say, poison, right, and they're having so much problem against rage, and they're like, enough rage, like why is it thing doing so much damage and stuff like that, right? But you cannot just think it from your own, like that particular team,
Yeah.
right? What are the implications of changing something? Like you have to think all of that, right? If you know this one stat, how is this going to affect the other teams, the other archetypes in play, and how is
Yeah.
this going to shift the meta, right? So like most of the times, like a lot of feedback that people give out on Twitter, like it's very emotionally biased, I would say, right? Because
Yeah, of course.
everyone likes,
I'm guilty
everyone
of
wants
it.
to,
I
yeah,
am
so everyone
definitely
wants to
guilty
have,
of it. Sorry, carry on.
yeah, so everyone wants to, you know, have their team perform best, and if something's like being too strong against them, so yeah, they'll always feel like, you know, this should be changed. But we have to look at it as a, like, we have to look at the bigger picture. And that's what, like, in the starting days, I remember I used to be like, okay, this shit is not balanced, you know, it needs to be changed, or this is too weak, it needs to be like bumped up a little and stuff like that. I used to like
Yeah.
You could say, I
I've
don't,
heard that
like
sentence.
many people would tell me,
I've
yeah,
heard that.
many
I've heard that multiple times back in the
yeah,
day.
so they would be like, stop complaining, man, enjoy the game, like look at this team, it's so much fun to play. I'm like, okay, this seems like fun to play, but there's so much more to this game that we cannot even see properly because this team is just overshadowing
Yeah.
the other stuff, right? So I think these are the unbiased takes that I think like the more people take, the more they can understand the thought process that goes behind, just making these suggestions. Even like someone would, if someone comes up with the like nerf the energy tails, let's say.
Yeah, that was a big
Okay, you
one for
nerf
a
the
while, and still even.
yeah, and like there's still people are like nerf the energy tails, nerf the energy tails. Like the start of the season, there was a lot of the feedback. Then it turned to Rage Infinity, and then it turned to like it keeps on changing, right? Like as the meta will develop, like stuff will change, and like you cannot just make like emotional decisions here and the like our job basically is just to filter that out, like take everyone's opinion and see like how to best present itself to the devs, right?
Mhm.
Like they have so much work to do, man. It's like it's crazy the amount of work everyone puts in the team, right?
Yeah.
And all this like feedback coming in, it, as Hill mentioned, it becomes a noise at a
Yeah.
certain point, right? So it's hard to like properly understand what the community wants. So that's where we come in. And even if it doesn't matter where in the leaderboard you are, if you have a concern, you put it down on Twitter, you tag us, we'll be there. If we
They'll
already
see it
have
100%.
something, yeah, we'll see it 100%. We'll try to respond as soon as possible, as much as in detail as possible. We'll have a discussion with you, and by having us a discussion there on Twitter, right?
Mhm.
Or any like social media, I mean in Discord, in any server we're in, right? The community also sees it, right? So they can also engage in that discussion. And there's always like the priority is always to have like healthy discussions. Like sometimes people can get emotional, and they like just a little bit of toxicity comes in, and that's where we have to filter out that toxicity and see that passion that player has for the game, right? Okay, like why is he being so emotional and so like why is he acting that way? Because he loves the game. In the end, it's about the game. He wants to improve the game to be more fun, more balanced, right?
Yeah.
So yeah, like no matter where you are in the leaderboard, just tag us and we'll be there to listen to you and have that healthy discussion so that we can like present your thoughts to the team better.
Yeah, no doubt. I think there's obviously a common understanding of just moral compass as well. It's like as much as this this role does then give the ability for someone to say, oh, the blame kind of lands on your head. Like at the end of the day, these are two community members of Axie, and like I would expect people within the community who genuinely do care about the game and are not just throwing their shit out the pram to have respect when communicating with you guys anyway. So hopefully we see a pattern of that moving forward, because what are we if we treat other members of this game like shit? So watch your tweets. But if there's something that needs to be discussed and you have a serious issue you'd like to raise or put forward, you heard it here first. You have the opportunity to be able to contact these guys through a platform like Twitter. Of course, if they're going to be getting hundreds and hundreds of messages every day, then it becomes a problem. But we'll have that form of access. Now, just thinking then when we were talking about, you could potentially end up having hundreds of players from all over the world with different concerns every other day at some point. And you said already in this stage where we're at, there is so much opinion and so many different ways in which you could approach balancing the game or making fixes or anything like that, that it is noise. There is a ton of noise. I feel like there's a ton of noise, and it's not my responsibility in any way, shape or form to actually make informed decisions to say this is what actually needs to change, or to prioritize what needs to be changed. So even if I feel that noise, I can understand in your shoes as well as Sky Mavis shoes, like how much there really is to deal with. It could be quite daunting. Do you reckon that in the near future there's like a plan or maybe facilitations to broaden what you guys will fulfill, and maybe the team in the future has the potential to expand. I think it's just an important point I want to touch on because of how kind of inspiring it is as a community member to see somebody progress through their efforts and through what they bring to the table and the contributions to officially having a role at some stage. Do you reckon at some point the load will need to be shared and spread a bit more, and then that there might be opportunities there for people?
Um, I think like just thinking of it from from a player's perspective, and just thinking about like what there is for Axie and Sky Mavis to offer to like the community. There's definitely like in the future I can like land is on its way, and whatever other titles are on their way, community driven titles are on the way as well. And it's like the game is going to go so much further than just Origins, right? So I can 100% imagine like there'd be like another pair of people doing the same thing we'd be doing exactly for Land, or
Yeah.
like for whatever other games that come forward.
Hmm.
And if the game does get big enough, or like on a larger scale, we get like different aspects. For the longest time, things like part upgrades have been teased. Accessories were recently teased on the the update. There's no reason we couldn't possibly get people working on the art front,
Yeah.
right? So I think, and this has been stressed out, not just by Sky Mavis, but as well as like a lot of the organizations pushing forward from the old system where it was all about just that extraction and all about like earning out of the game. It's like giving back and trying to become part of the ecosystem,
Yeah.
and I think that's something that like a lot of people should really look into, because like I started Axie at first just as a player, and so I just got into it. I have very heavy Magic the Gathering background. I played like Pokemon, I played Yu-Gi-Oh and all
Yeah.
of that. And when I started playing, it's just like, wow, this really resonates with me. This is what I've been missing,
Hmm.
because you obviously don't have like the over the board anymore. And I went from there to being a manager, um, to, believe it or not, being banned on the Discord for a little bit.
Oh
I,
shit! There
no
seems
no
to be a
joke.
history
I've
of some of our
Yeah, I've
successful
been there.
people
So,
they've
and
faced those bans from. I guess it might be out of like a form of just eagerness to be involved, and you maybe
yeah,
overstep the
absolutely.
mark because you just
And
want to you want to make things happen.
exactly, and it's exactly what Jaatster was saying a while ago. It comes from that passion. You'll have people like really emotionally charged coming at you on Twitter, and they've got like just this anger. It's just, why is my team doing so terribly? Like, Rage is too strong, Aquas are too strong, everything except my team is too strong,
Yeah.
right? And
It's victimization though, isn't it? You put yourself in that victim role, and you could poke
yeah, well,
holes at anything.
I wouldn't put it I wouldn't put it that way. But I think like the main driver is really just that passion, because you would be mad if you didn't care.
Yeah.
I think is what it was. And I feel like if you can convert that energy into something that just build on top of it, try to provide something, you find something you're good at. Like I said, I had a background in programming. I haven't practiced programming in a corporate setting or for the purpose of earning anything for the longest time, because I shifted careers. But then it was just something I just enjoyed, and I went from there to just pulling stuff off the API,
Yeah.
giving feedback, and just this is where I am now.
Hmm.
So I think, like, absolutely, if you find that there's something that you can contribute in any shape or form, it doesn't have to be for directly with a team with Sky Mavis. It could also just be with organizations. There's plenty of organizations out there building.
Hmm.
Look into it, because I think it just shows the proofs in the pudding that a lot of people have taken those opportunities, and have made a name for themselves one way or another,
Yeah.
and just kind of put themselves forward.
100%. I think it's this is the time. I always tell people that, you know, if anything, aside from just a game and just a gaming ecosystem, Axie really is a platform to which you can bring your talents to, and in a time where globally we're seeing economical struggles widespread, having such a platform, whether it, like you said, being with Sky Mavis themselves or within the ecosystem, like having a platform to display talents and then be able to then contribute in return, receiving benefits for that is huge. And I think this is something that will drive this space more so than anything and any other gaming space because of that ability. It's growing, and with growth comes new opportunities. So again, let that be known that you really can forge something out for yourself in a space like this. So but it's something, yeah, I'm I'm interested to talk about as well. And this comes under the contact, and thank you whoever just followed me. This comes under the umbrella of the hard questions, right? Through the agenda, you probably saw the hard questions, but these ones, there's a lot of open reason for concern within the community, and I get and have the luxury to talk with an abundant amount of people, whether it be shit posting on Twitter and we just have a conversation after or whatever. Like I talk to a lot of people. There's clear concerns for the lack of like actual past experience in the actual roles that you guys are going to be playing. Like you mentioned you have experience, Hale, this is for you. You had mentioned you had experience with analytics, or was it dealing with numbers, especially in the past, or like, and you were involved in it on a corporate level. Could you expand a bit more on like what you have done in the past on that?
Yeah, sure. Actually, like, so I came off with a degree in just computer programming or software technology.
Yeah.
And my first gig was mobile programming, and this is way back when. I touched like BlackBerry code, and so from mobile programming to Android to iOS, and eventually shifted to a little bit of game dev,
Yeah.
Unity, and all of that.
Okay. Yes.
So that was kind of the path I took, and I shifted careers. And I mentioned I went in aviation, but then on the side, I was just trying to involving myself with just different gaming communities and just providing that same thing. Previously, I was with the in a Genshin community with the Kaching mains, and
Okay.
heavy into theory crafting, heavy into programming simulations.
Yeah.
Combinatorial problem solving. That's kind of like the direction I usually go to. And so like, like as of like recently example, like I wrote a simulator
Yeah.
to really try out those things that you just probably wouldn't be able to figure out unless you spent like
An-
hours upon
An
hours and
abundance of time.
days.
Yeah, of course.
Yeah,
A
and so
really
like
helpful
those are the bits
process, by the
like
way.
yeah, so it helps us fast forward and trying to imagine what might happen if we did this, right? And it's difficult to get that answer just asking people, because obviously we don't play that many games to a point where it'd be a reliable source.
Mhm.
So I feel like background wise, a lot of it for me just comes from that computing background, and
Yeah.
just probably math. I just played way too many games, so I
Mhm.
guess like the game sense comes in quite a bit. Trading card games, Magic the Gathering, just online and everything else. And I've got a little bit of experience just like managing communities as well. I used to be
Yeah.
like a guild master in Ragnarok Online. I don't know if anyone's played that. But it's like manage like maybe 200 people all at once.
Mhm.
So I understand like where these pain points can come from, and how some people would have like their concerns, and sometimes it's always a little bit deeper than that.
Yeah.
And so like the important bit is just kind of finding where that smoke is coming from whenever you see something.
See something, yeah.
So
No, I like. I don't want you to feel as if, in no way, shape, or form, don't want to put you on blast and be like, "Oh, what have you done? Why do you deserve this?" It's not that. Mainly, really, to share your experiences as well with the community, so they can kind of think, "Oh, you know what? I've done some of that as well," and even to think of like, "Oh, what might help me be able to forge," because I think every experience you have in life kind of amalgamates to who you are in that current day, and being able to look at a reference like what you've done in the past is could be important for a young member of the community coming up, kind of planning what they might want to do coming into the scene and over the course of the next few years. But yeah, there was just a real concern in terms of like not having been in a role like this before. Like it's actually, when we think about it, it's a pivotal role. Like it genuinely is. The game of Axie Origins is like the heartbeat of Axie right now. I don't think anybody could like deter away from that.
There's another thing, like there hasn't been a role like this also, right?
Yep. So it's like you can't have that qualification previously if it's a new, like it's a new industry, a newfound role.
It's a new industry, it's Web3, and like we're all just exploring, like finding ways to make the space better, right? And like I played many games, I've been active in many communities, and like this excites me the most, right? The team wanting to build with the community.
Yep.
You don't see that anywhere, man. Like if you played some major AAA games, no matter how many hours you put in, you try putting your voice out there. no one would like
Yeah.
except the other community members, like the main team. They won't listen to you. They have their own thing they do privately, and that's just that.
Yeah.
You can never expect what to do. But here in Web3, like, this is the beauty of community building, right?
Mhm.
Like, everyone's voice is heard, and they really want to do it with the community, for the community.
Yeah, 100%. I think, well, one thing that I can always tell and have known anyway, especially from your side, Jaatster, is that like, if I was to put myself in those shoes, like passion is probably one of the most important, ingredients. Yes, we can poke and look at like, oh, is the previous experience kind of give you that qualification to do the role well to an extent? But I think in this world that we have right now, it will be pretty clear and pretty open, very fast if like the expectations aren't being met. But having the ingredient of passion and someone, having cared for the community out of no accord or no advantage to their self or their own, and then being backed by the development company themselves to say, listen, I see what you're doing. I believe in your passion towards the game itself to make it a better game, and I want to kind of support that and enable it in a way that will allow more opportunity of inspiration amongst the community, but then also an opportunity for you guys to really build and develop this position and establish that, okay, this is a very key and vital role. It's not really been done before like this, to a standard in which we look to aspire for in Axie, to a standard where we look to have this type of player base in Axie, and it be done well. I think it will take a lot of passion, because it's going to be a lot of unknown roads. It's going to be a lot of things that people haven't tackled before. It's going to be, late nights, a lot of energy being put in when probably the last thing you want to do is talk to someone talking to you about the same problems you've heard 5 times in different conversations the same day. I think if you don't have passion and you're in those type of positions, it's very easy to cut corners or plant poisonous seeds, in a sense, where eventually it grows into a much bigger problem itself. So from my personal opinion, I had no qualms of or issues with somebody kind of coming into this role without having previously done anything similar. I had no problem with that, simply because I feel as if the importance of this role is actually the relationship with community, right? That's important. Yes, we're looking at filtering information and bringing it into the development company to make changes in a game that is very serious now. This game, I believe, and a lot of players who are here playing this game every single day, this game is very serious, and its capabilities to facilitate a lot of people is extremely serious, and it can't be taken lightly. But the fact that we have, you both behind this role now that can have that funneling bridge to Sky Mavis, there's a lot that can be done. There is a lot that can be done from here. Something that I personally would like to see is potentially having, how right now our forum, if we're honest, is Twitter. Like, let's be real. Our forum is Twitter. Everyone's eyes turn to Twitter. If you are in Discord communities, conversation might spark up and it would be like, oh, you didn't see it. It was on Twitter. Like, everything kind of revolves and centralizes around Twitter. Like, as we kind of move forwards with this and more open discussion happens, like maybe having some kind of structural involvement of, things being on Twitter, frequent updates, maybe having even what they called on Twitter, open spaces that are scheduled at points, so that you guys have like a place and the community knows the place in which, they can be best informed, up to date with what's being discussed, where we're at with certain issues and processes. I think one thing that the community may feel right now is that, like, things are taking a long time, and really I have to push this narrative of patience because we're in an alpha, but it feels as if we've been very stagnant recently. I think if we had somewhere to be able to come in, check in with where the progress was and have an update on that, that could, subdue a lot of the emotional outbursts, a lot of the, wow, this hasn't changed for fucking 3 weeks, man. Like, and then they go tweet something crazy, I mean, what are your thoughts to kind of tackle that?
Yeah. Like if I could touch on that, like just the other day, I ran through the entire public bug sheet and everything else, and for the purpose of reprioritizing what was on there, and what we've been trying to lean on is just a buff mentality, where instead of taking away from the things that's already on the table, and like we've had instances of this happen before in V2. If anyone remembers, like the bone sale, bumpy interaction, and that was nerfed, and it wasn't the prettiest situation.
Yeah.
And we'd like to avoid continuously, or just like, or we want to dispel that fear. We want to dispel that fear from the players, from the community, where they think like, oh, this is too good. What if they nerf it, right? And instead, just like there's so many cards, there's so many parts, there's so many aspects of the game that can be improved, and just like given more potential. And just so, like, instead of having to just knock things down, what we should be doing instead is just like try to raise up the bits that are kind of just left behind. And
Yeah.
I think like anyone can agree, like maybe like even we don't even use half the cards. I'm sure someone out there does. But then if you look at like the majority of the players and like what is popular, what is meta, we don't even use half the cards.
Yeah.
So that's an angle that it's just a buff mentality. Let's buff things first. Let's try to create opportunities for
Instead of
players to solve the
removing.
problem.
Yeah.
It's
Mhm.
don't make the problem easier to solve. Provide more ways to solve it. Is
Yes.
the way we're kind of looking to it.
Yeah.
And I think something that comes up quite often is just like whenever whatever is the flavor of the week, it's always nerf that thing. And I think something that people need to realize is the game doesn't exactly allow you to just shift gears. Sometimes the answer to whatever the meta is currently just doesn't exist. It
Mhm.
literally hasn't been bred yet, not to a point where it matters. There might be
Yeah.
one player out there running around with like the perfect counter to Rage Axies, but that's just him. It's
Mhm.
not really available to like just the regular market.
Yeah.
Obviously, when it does come out, it's probably gonna be prohibitively expensive. And that's just the way it is, and it's just the way it has been. Like even in V2, whatever's been on top is usually just
Yeah.
what is effective will be in demand, and just basic supply and demand.
Yeah. I was
You
gonna
can
say
expect it.
it comes from that like supply and demand aspect. I think,
Yeah,
yeah, there's
absolutely.
so many layers to it as well. Not in terms of like what's meta based off statistics, because a lot of the time like you have to factor in so many different things of like, this may seem overpowered because most amount of people are playing it, but then you have players who like, and this is not, I'm not shooting shots, but like you might have players who are not actually that good players, but they're playing with, there's just more of this thing, so it makes it seem even more broken because you're just playing it a lot, and then if you have no answer for it, then of course you're going to lose more games than you might win just because of the probabilities of that. And then also, you touched on breeding. A lot of the time, near enough 100% of the time as well at this point now when I'm trying to expand certain things, but you'll search for something and it doesn't yet exist to its like
Yeah,
to its full optimization. And we're seeing that process now happen. I think there's a lot more breeders coming up. There's a lot more breeding happening. And there's a lot of interesting things that are starting to be bred
Dude,
as well.
shout out to all the breeders, like
Yeah.
guys who have the guts to try those things, and when it works out, it's
Because it's
just
big
beautiful.
risk, man. It is a big risk
Yeah.
game, but a huge reward, like you said. Like the general thesis of supply and demand. Like if you create something that is scarce but actually solves, the problem, you could be into something. So the culture of breeding is growing. I had the conversation on the last episode of saying breeding is meta for me, and I think that's a positive narrative to be able to push anyway, because there's nothing quite like actually being able to play with something you created as well. I think it's another intrinsic value that Axie offers, and something that should be explored more by the community, even though it's very difficult. It's not easy by any means. Some of these breed pools, like the gene pool, sorry, my god, like you don't even know, like you couldn't even guess what you're gonna get out of that egg. So I do understand it, but yeah, some names that have been popping up
And
recently, like Tanch, I've been seeing these. I saw him actually put an offer up today for an entire team. That's the first time I've seen that been done. I know we've spoken about that on Gila Gossip before for like marketplace opportunity. But yeah, Tanch, we know Stark, a great breeder. I'm gonna shout Cairo out because he started breeding, bro. So my man's probably gonna come out here with some secret weapons soon. And I got Geordie in Barcelona. He's breeding some madness. We've got I forgot his name. His name's like Tendy or something like that. Bro, I swear to you, I don't know this person. I do know them because we talk on Discord a lot, but he just pops up every other like week and with like a whole different breed pool or something. I'm like, bro, like, what are you doing with these? Like, are you playing? Because he keeps sending me these godlike axes. I'm like, are you playing? Like, I'll actually like quit everything right now and just become a scholar for you because of the access that you have. But there's so many more breeders that are popping up, which again, kind of it's difficult to measure, you know, the rate at which the game's developing because of breeding and expansion of combinations and those types of things at the same rate as like what kind of exists, what's abundant, what can happen, and like how do we micromanage that, because something might appear that we haven't even calculated in this moment that, you know, doesn't make sense when they both kind of meet on the same timeline. So
And
yeah.
like even now, like we still have so many possibilities where we still have so many cards that are underutilized that can get better, open up like new opportunities, you know. Even like without that, there's still like every, I would say, like week or 10 days something new pops up.
Mhm.
Like something new is just defeating everything, and then some guy tries to counter that, and then just like the meta is developing healthy, but like just like few concerns here and there, and I hope like that will be addressed.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. I mean, I'll give you my real spill, Holy Phil. I'm not going to jump on the bandwagon and say like things are broken and all this type of stuff. But in my personal opinion, I don't think we. It's hard because the opinion gets skewed because of how a season plays out, right? So you kind of have to look at this and say, okay, let me look at this game from the perspective of like all that it is, and then let me look at this game of like a perspective of this is my current season journey. My current season journey, I'm having huge issues, as you lot know. Play Poison. Poison has a lot of a hard, like it just has a hard knock life right now. That's just the way that things are shaped up right now. Personally, I do think everything kind of, you know, orchestrates around rage simply because it is heads and shoulders way above any scalable damage capabilities. But then you could say, well, C's, no, it's not. I mean, you could play a what you call it, a shield backup mech, and you know, just load up loads of shields, and you get, you know, you can get some value with square teeth continually, and you may be able to get as much damage off using that process, and but really everything kind of revolves around kind of what works, what's easy to make work, and then what's easy to then breed out. And that's why we're seeing the meta we're seeing right now, because of the last step of that, the breeding out step, the beast god bred, that they exist, they're here, they're there. So
absolutely.
yeah, I think as well the back end of the season, because the season's so long, we'll see something different. You know, obviously by the end of the
like
season.
Not everyone can be happy all the time, right? There, like if you cannot create something that will win against everything, and if that's the case, then that's what's broken. And I don't think there's any comp right now that just wins against everything, right?
Mm-hmm.
There are counters, so yeah, like that's healthy for.
I think it's ignorant as well to look at things sometimes from a standpoint of like, oh, this is an auto loss, because there's actually, it's not
Like
a guarantee.
people focus, okay, this is auto loss, but when they get that auto win game, they're like, auto win, nice.
Yeah, but
They won't
that's
come.
gonna be
They won't
that's
come
gonna
to.
happen,
They
isn't it,
won't
bro?
come to Twitter, right? They won't come to Twitter, take the screenshot, and like, "Yo, this is an auto win,
Yeah.
nice."
Yeah, no, facts. And I mean, Cairo's saying in the chat, no one talks about the horror story of breedings as well, only the W's, and it's kind of the same thing. They only talk about the horror stories and not the W's of their composition a lot of the time. So you know, a lot. It's difficult with this open communication platform. You can hear everything, and I think your both of your abilities to be able to filter out what is noise from, you know, what actually is justifiable and has a lot of legs to it. then it is the, you know, the ultimate skill set. You know, if you guys can develop that to the point where, you know, we're efficient, we understand, you know, how to get there, and it's done well, then, you know, this is bullish. I think this is hugely bullish anyway, just off the fact that we're growing as a community and allowing opportunities for us. So one of the, like, we did talk about how, you know, people like 1437 Theban and Meat Value were on a council before. You know, there was obviously conflict of interest, which is really hard to avoid, especially in any game. But their involvement still will be very prevalent, right? They're still going to be heavily involved with that feedback, channeling to you guys. Will it widen? You know, are we going to look at like maybe a larger council of the professional players, like, so that it doesn't have maybe a handful of people that have maybe not a hidden agenda behind it, but they have beneficiaries to you know, being able to keep it small and niche, whereas having, you know, maybe like the top 50 have a process of being able to communicate, or the top 100 have a process to communicate, so it has like a much wider catchment area, and you can filter information from yes, top players. That top 100 spot kind of solidifies your experience.
Yeah, we touched on this lightly a while ago, and you know, there really just is a wealth of knowledge behind like these players who really put the work in, really put the investment in, not just monetarily but also in time, and it really just is a different ballpark,
Yeah.
or it's a different ball game. Higher up top, obviously, it's possible you come in, you pick up like whatever is the hottest right now, but then like as soon as the meta shifts, you do need to be able to keep up with that. And it's something else where you have an idea of where the meta is going before the meta is even there.
Yeah.
And I think that's something that a lot of professional players kind of have in mind. And and obviously, this is also the same reason why you won't expect to see the meta shift so quickly, because obviously, a lot of them are going to be tucking away their aces up their sleeves, right? They're not about to reveal what they believe is the answer to win this season right now, because after that happens, the breeders come in, they pick it up, they breed it out, people buy in, and now you have to find out the answer to that thing, right? So I think when it comes to like the top 1,000, 100, top 10, you know, all these pro players and everything else, it's absolutely like essential to respect the knowledge that they bring. And this doesn't mean to discount you know, obviously like anyone's opinion, because like Jaatster was talking about, we will listen to anyone, and you know, everyone's opinion is valid. But then to say that there's a conflict of interest, it's an understandable concern, but at the same time, it's like, why wouldn't you want to get why wouldn't you want to get a professional's opinion?
Yeah.
Right, to help you fix your game. It's like these are the people who are most, well, I would say most serious, but then they're definitely like investing more than the regular player might.
Yeah.
So you know, that's the consideration. And as far as it does go, I did say a while ago that for a while now there has been a feedback group in position, and these are players who were either handpicked or put in by recommendation, whose you know, opinions are conferred to. We do speak to them as often as we can. It's not necessarily just them. I mentioned a while ago that I'll reach out to whoever might be, you know, in my opinion, or in the public eye's opinion, an expert in their field or in their archetype of, or whatever they do, be it breeding, playing specific teams, managing, you know, all of that. So like, you know, like dialing back all the way to the beginning, you know, we're just the bridge. And if anything, we try our best to you know, just facilitate, you know, what goes across, and both ways.
Yeah, I've seen in the chat, Justin KM said, is this where governance comes in? We give out much AXS to top players, which will give them a holding governance. I think it's a solid point. Just sparked an idea in my head of saying how like that the governance, you know, hasn't really come into Axie as of yet, and I don't really want to talk about it too much here because it's not the right place to be discussing it. But the idea that could potentially be proposed and come forward from some like a structure like that, being that, you know, based on the rewards, not the actual holdings of AXS, but the reward distribution of AXS, then can give you, maybe an opportunity to then have access to give like a direct form of feedback as a player. Obviously our leaderboard works where the higher you rank, the more access rewards you get out, and kind of giving a governance opportunity for different levels of that AXS distribution. So if I was top 1000 and I earn X amount of AXS, that kind of gives me the ability to attend, certain governance meetings or meetings where you might be discussing some plans you're looking to implement and having kind of like an open house like we do in the town hall in Axie Discord, where things like this can be discussed. I think that might be something. But what I want to poke at specifically, and ask just the open question to you guys, and this is obviously not confirmed to be something that it will happen or is happening at all. But what would you think about like a governance system that kind of was over, you guys would kind of oversee that, but there being an actual governance system in place for the delivery of feedback?
I think the structure is good. I think it's always good to have that structure. Just so like I was comparing it to like an open room where everyone's talking over each other, and we definitely don't want that.
Yeah.
I think like as of now, and it's a wonderful idea, but at the same time, Jad and I are right here. You're welcome to tag us on Twitter. We'll happily attend to it, right? You don't need to hold however much AXS to get your opinion across. But then what I will request, and this is just just as a personal request, would be just try to work with us. Work with us because we want to work with you. It's very difficult to take in an opinion, especially when it's very emotionally negatively charged, and then just trying to get us to answer the questions that you already have answers to, and it's not a conversation at that point. Because we're very very much in the position to try to help as many people get what they want to say across, with the intent of like making the game better for everyone. Right. So I think what needs to be dispelled is, and I think this is a feeling that a lot of people have had, is like they feel like they have no voice. And I don't think governance is necessary to have a voice, because at that point people will still feel like they won't have a voice if they don't have enough access or whatever it is. So I believe structure is good if it does achieve that. I personally couldn't speak for it, because obviously it's not in place at the moment. We're not it's not our realm, I guess. It's not what we're focusing on right now, me and Jat. But then like I just want to put it out there, and that we don't need to wait for that for you to be able to reach out to us right now. Right. And this is why this role was created. We are that bridge for you to be able to speak to us and put your opinions forward. And I think something that needs to be clarified is we're in the middle of the season right now. Outside of bugs and anything that is not intended to be, there is likely not going to be as much changes. So if there are going to be any changes during the middle of the season right now, it's going to be bugs. Anything that shouldn't be working the way they are right now is absolutely on the table to get fixed. There's a lot of them out there that are holding back a few archetypes, and we have been looking into that. But then remember that there will be an off season, during which time changes will be made publicly available for anyone and everyone to try out, and it's basically be an open forum for you to get your opinions out there. And let us know. It's like, hey, it's like I'm not a super big fan of like what you've done to Rage this off season, and I don't think it's going to be very good for season 2. And then at that point, it's like, well, we'll look into it and we'll think about it, and then there's no reason it could be rehashed and maybe even put back to the way it was. But then that opportunity will come. I don't know if right now, like in the middle of the season, we don't want to have too many cooks in the kitchen, so to speak, is what it was. And because otherwise we kind of just take a step back from where we were before like these roles were filled. Not to speak of like myself or Jaatster, but just in general, like just diving back, the structure is important. And this way we'll be able to really get those opinions kind of just organized in a way that can be best received by the team, by the developer, so that they can work with it. Because it's hard work. And I was talking about how long the public bug list was. I can guarantee you that like it's very difficult for all of that to be addressed right away. And people will say it's like, oh, this bug's been in here since alpha. This bug's been in here since forever when. And the thing is, it's just like there is always something might be more important to fix. And there's also stuff that's being built forwards, right? Rock paper scissors wasn't a bug, but it came out because it was something that was required to give players a better experience.
Yeah.
And because like a lot of people were saying, it's like, hey, how come I'm always second? Hey, how come I'm always first? The game's rigged, whatever else. So it gives you that sense of participation. And if all we did was fix the bugs and looking backwards, we wouldn't be able to move forward. And I think that would also like lead to like complaints of like the game being stale. And so at times there will be things that are, we're aware they're there, but then at times it's like you have to pick your battles. And like some things will just exist for a little bit. It's going to be a frustration, especially for some players. If it's something for them that is actually a very big concern, but on the large scale, sometimes other things are just need to be prioritized.
Yeah. I think the community
So
hasn't helped themselves that much in the past as well. We had access to literally the community bug report sheet for months. Like it was open access. You literally click a link and you could see every single report that was ever made, and literally like its position in priority, and people would still kind of openly report things or complain about certain things that you could see that it was already made aware of and kind of where it was. I don't know how you make it easier than it just being a Google document open for everybody to kind of see. But there is that kind of element as well. It always in my head, bro. I try and go around the situation a lot of the time, and it always ends up in the same place of like I really don't envy the job, and like I am, you guys have some huge bollocks. I'm gonna say it like that. You guys have some huge bollocks because this position, you put yourself directly kind of in that firing line, and it won't. I don't imagine it to be easy, especially under the pressures of certain, how some of the community might respond to certain things
yeah,
now,
yeah,
in the
no,
past, and kind of in the future. So I've got the utmost respect for you guys, and really kind of want to make sure that that experience is made easier for you, and just express it, bro. Like if you're in the community and you have issues, you have problems, like 9 times out of 10, like your issue is known, it's being contemplated right now. And just that element of patience really needs to be applied. But some people kind of hinting towards it in the chat, they've answered it as well. But we know we have an off season that's coming after this season one. That kind of break period is going to be necessary, and I think it's going to be a normal part of our seasonal structures, right? Is the outset, and do you guys know, I mean, if you don't know, you don't know, but do you guys know that how our season structure is going to kind of look here moving forwards? Because this is season one. It's very long. It's a very long season. I don't know if that's going to be consistent. I hope not, from my own personal opinion. But do you guys have an outlook on how maybe just a bit more into the macro of things kind of will look?
Yeah, I think one thing I wanted to talk about, like in the macro scene, right? People are like I have seen reports of people feeling there's no point in grinding at this moment, right? Like mid-season, it's a bit boring for them. Like there's no incentive to grind. The runes and charms are already so cheap in the marketplace. They've been crafted in such abundance, and they can just push during the last couple of weeks, right? But I think they're forgetting like this contest coming up. Like in the future we'll have like seasons won't just be you trying to climb the arena.
Yeah,
There's going to be a lot of things, right? I don't know if you guys have seen
the tournaments
Zosa's
have.
talk during Axicon, right? Like those things are so exciting, man. Like there's endless possibilities, and each day you get on to play Axie will be exciting because you will have something to grind for each day. That's like I think that's the bigger picture we need to look at, right? Like the possibilities that we're gonna get.
Yeah. Yeah. It's easy to microscope into our current situations. I mean, I think this happens as well with, as much as I'm delighted that there is the financial connection of blockchain, but when money kind of is involved with it as well, it kind of makes people a bit more on edge. If I've just put money in and kind of had perception of how things were gonna go. And I looked at the leaderboard rewards and I thought, oh, that sounds juicy. And now I'm thinking, wait, this comp doesn't work against this. Nerf this, nerf this, nerf this. Like the pressure starts to get on. So I think there's a lot of things that might influence a community member's opinion as well. But yeah, you mentioned some really good points in the macro of things. Like there's so much to look forward to. Esports scene itself is going to be an incredibly exciting space over the course of the next year up until the next AxieCon. I'm almost certain of. And if not, if you don't think so, I'm gonna make sure that you think so at some point, because we're gonna make some shit happen. But yeah, there are tons of things to look forward to. I saw in the chat mentioned about will we see full secret class unlock? Like, is that, I know that's like an intended reality, and of course whether you guys even have any form of access to that type of information at all, I kind of doubt. But like, do you reckon from a personal standpoint as players of the game, like this is something that is going to happen and my like you would want it to happen soon?
Like, we obviously want everything just to happen tomorrow, right?
I want it now. I need
Yeah,
it now, bro.
yeah. I
I
need
need
it now,
Venoki
bro.
as
But
well, bro. I
You need
need that
everything right now.
poisonous starter right now. So I don't know what's going on, but you lot are taking too long to release Venoki. I'm gonna say that for sure, because I've been looking at this. I've been looking at this little poison fella for about not even that longer, because when Origin trailers first came out, and he's still not here, and I'm actually sad about it. But that's my piece for today. I'm gonna leave it there. But yeah, no, like you said, we all want these things to happen now. But realistically, like, when you came into this role, did you like? Was it a thought in the back of your minds of like, okay, yes, we're going to balance the game right now, but like, is that coming? Like, what, where are we at with it?
I feel like the challenge, particularly when it comes to like the idea of just adding any amount of like non-starter special class cards at all, it's just like, imagine the amount of combinations that would introduce into
That's
the
what
game.
I mean,
And
bro.
like,
It's massive.
right? It's massive. It's absolutely massive. It's just multiplicative, exponential even. And I think the bit there is simply like, I mentioned a while ago, like we're at a point where the meta doesn't even use half the cards we have. So it's understandable. Like, everyone wants to get that one PP that's kind of sitting there for your mechs, dons, and ducks. Don't get me wrong. I know it's just sitting there kind of mocking us that we can't touch it. But at the same time, it's if you're looking for an expansion, there's all of these other cards that could definitely still see a little love, be tweaked in a way so that they're made viable. And I think a misconception a lot of people have is some people feel as if like anything should be good at any given point in time in a season. But then the reality is there's always going to be like that one team that's kind of dictating the flow of where things are. Like right now, you could argue that it's Rage, but I would say it's actually Sustain.
Yeah.
A lot of the suggestions that come out, like they say like nerf energy tails. It's like, but what about Sustain? Nerf Rage, but what about Sustain?
Yeah.
So I think something that people need to realize is that some things that may not be in the meta right now aren't necessarily bad. They're just out of the meta. It's just not their season right now. Is the case. And I think Gila, you might feel this way. You might feel this way with Poison because, well, what about Sustain? So that is kind of the position, isn't it?
Yeah.
But I think like we're seeing a little bit of dust getting kicked up here and there. I don't know if anyone's seen Sequinox's posts bringing up that Leafy in the challenger rule,
100%.
and he's telling the Poison players to get out because he doesn't like dealing with you guys because you're a thorn in his side. And if that gets anywhere popular enough, that's an entrance. That's a door open for Poison to come back.
Yeah. 100%.
And so the reality is the meta is very much alive. It's very much alive. It's very much organic. And what players need to realize that, it's not the devs who need to move the meta. You can't tell the devs, hey guys, I'm tired of this meta. Can you just like nerf it or buff something else so that, we can just move on to like the next thing? It's just people have to figure that out. You have to breed those Axies. You have to, the theory crafters have to be adventurous and create new things, because I'll promise you 90% or even more of the players will look at the top 100 and find Axies that are similar and just play that.
Yeah.
So, big props to anyone who gets out of their way, gets off the beaten path and then just tries to, crack the meta, so to speak.
We need more of you. I will
because-
definitely celebrate the shit out of you if you come out with a comp that is not abundant and you manage to, find a way to pierce into that top end of the table for sure. Right now, it's actually an initiative that I'm pushing. I tweeted out earlier about asking people, what are your compositions right now? This again is specific to Poison, but like, what are your compositions right now? And I'll give a gift away for the most inventive composition. And even from just tweeting that out, like I've had conversations today and have seen ideas and then expanded on those ideas and kind of, the wheels are turning on potentially, making some changes, shifting some cards around, and trying a different approach. I think from my perspective, when you talk about Poison and it's kind of not being that time right now at this point in the season, is very true. But I think how we got here is because of how linear and how 90% of people decided to play something was Poison at that time, because there was no answers when we had no runes and charms to be able to, scale damage to the extent that we can with Rage, or heal and, have certain access that we needed for potentially like Rise and Ruin, those types of deals that make it like unwinnable in certain situations. So, yeah, I think you said it. You said the right phrase, that the meta is well and truly alive, and like we saw from that chart the other day, that I made the TikTok off. If you guys saw it, I don't know if you guys saw it, but there is that. There is that, lads. I'm sorry, you're gonna see more of this shit. I'm gonna be testing some stuff on TikTok because whatever, but that 2% or 2.2% or something like that of leafy comps that are coming into that top 100, like if that does grow and you're seeing people are purchasing leafy comps as it is right now, because it looks like a fun way to play the game, but as that number starts to grow, another number does have to shrink, which then does actually provide opportunity for certain things. It's hard to think of it that way, because you might say, okay, well, if they're no longer top 100, well, they're filtering just down to on the border of 100, and it's like, okay, well, I now have this huge barrier before the top 100 that is just my counter. And maybe then you'll have to realize, Axie might not be a one deck game, and that's the reality of it. Axie is not a one deck game, and if you want to be on the competitive circuits, you cannot go to a competition with one deck. It's not going to end well for you. So yes, that may be hard because of certain barriers of entry for that, and having multiple decks for everybody in the ecosystem. But the reality is, to be at the top of the game, those types of things will need to be accessible. So but yeah, a lot of it is all just thoroughly exciting to me.
Dude, like the thing that I'm most excited for is the possibilities that like stuff like contests can unlock in the game. Like each and like it won't matter then, right? If you are on, like, if you have a team that's a top 100 team, right? But if you have a team that can help you progress in this contest, and it's going to be fun, it's going to be super fun to log in each day, right? To complete that challenge, to get that reward. It could be like anything, like, but like this, that feeling of accomplishment that comes with creating, like, completing those challenges, right? It's like,
I was gonna say,
amazing.
like, we're lucky as a game to have the level of interest that we do without even having those incentives. Most games don't even come near to being available to the consumer until there's about 1 million different gotcha routes, and like there's 1 million different daily tasks. You open up your game, you have like 200 notifications that you need to go and find and close down. I honestly, like, I hate that shit. I have OCD with it, so if there's a notification, I'm like, that needs to get opened and read at least. But like, we have this drive to play the game even without that, and I think you're touching on certain things that aren't like fully revealed as of now, and aren't a reality right now. But we mustn't judge or kind of have a fixated opinion on things in the now, because ultimately it is not the overall reality. So I think a bit more macro view is something that we can definitely take away from most of the conversations on the pod today. It kind of sums
and
up.
This is just Origins, just one game that's in the ecosystem that your Axis enable, and there's like so much more coming.
Yeah, man. I'm not too excited for land because I don't have a plot. So if anyone's a landowner and want to give me a plot, then you might make me excited.
Yeah, I sold mine
I'm,
and didn't get a visa.
I'm right,
So
right
yeah.
there with you, Gila. I'll sit on that curb with you.
Yeah,
We'll work it out.
yeah, we'll figure it out. But
Yeah.
no, yeah,
Uh,
there
I
is
was
just
I was
so
hoping to.
much. Go on, bro.
Sorry, go ahead.
No, you take the floor, man.
Yeah, no, I was gonna touch on this question Kyra's got out, which is if I think that the meta is gonna stay the same for multiple seasons and if there's incentive in like the meta shifting. I just want to say a lot of like what we've been looking for, especially now, it's just kind of looking for those keys to unlock those doors to make different metas or different archetypes available. You know, because like right now you'll say like we've got aggro, we've got the sustain, which I'm just gonna call it prison, and we have like combo to some degree, which is just rage. But you know, we don't have like a proper control deck. We don't have a proper mid-range deck. We don't have proper tempo decks, and a lot of that is definitely possible. A lot of those are actually blocked by bugs that exist right now. And the way I want to describe it is we're broadening the surface area for the meta to grow. You know, we're not necessarily like chopping down the currently existing archetypes just so that anything else can grow on top of it, or we're not trying to boost anything specifically, but then we're just giving the players the opportunity to figure out what can be good, what are ways they can expand. Because personally, like I said like a while ago, you know, like, the meta is very much alive, it's very organic. I believe in the community, I believe in the players, I believe in the people who have that game sense and that adventurousness and that just the curiosity to create something new. And I think that's like a wonderful thing, especially in like V2. You've got those players who had literal Axies named after them, you know, because they were the ones who
Yeah.
created that
Yeah, we haven't really
the
seen
meta.
that, have we, in Origin too much? I mean, there's definitely cases of it.
Yeah,
But
there's definitely cases of players who've made certain teams like fairly popular. I know Zero brought in the Leafy team quite a bit in tournaments. I could be wrong. Maybe there's someone else who
yeah,
came up with it before
yeah, you
him. But
never
then
know
obviously
nowadays,
like
right? You say
yeah,
something and be
yeah.
like, yeah,
I feel like someone out there probably figured it out themselves first, but then being able to bring results with it matters. I think is something that I would consider as as a consideration in like giving that credit where credit's due,
yeah,
right? So like there's like I said, like there's so many parts, there's so many possibilities. We're trying to just unlock whatever it is that's holding back players from being able to do certain things. And if you follow my threads, I try to touch on a lot of these things. I
Mhm.
try to touch on like what are the obvious patterns, what are the obvious considerations, why is everyone using only HP charms? We're figuring that out.
Yeah. No, facts. I just want to say, genuinely, the efforts and the work that you guys have done up until this point, hats off to you, man. I genuinely appreciate you guys and the simulation, the number crunching. I never would be anywhere near even dreaming, being able to put stuff like that together, and then the amount of work that you've kind of put in as well, Jaatster, from a community standpoint side, is above and beyond, bro. So
Thank you.
deserved, and I'm happy that we are here now. I want to just take it over to the updates that we just recently had. This is going to be coming on. We're winding down now. We've been here for a minute, guys, but we had an October development update. I think it was a Substack that was posted on Monday, I believe. Probably maybe yesterday. I don't know where I'm at anymore, but like there was an update that was posted, and it touched on something that we saw at AxieCon. I kind of want to bring the screen over to it just so you guys can have a visual representation of what we're looking at. Again, yes, this is gonna be a bit awkward as well, but I'm using my skills real quick. Yes, here we are. Here we are looking at the one and only part upgrades, or like the changing cosmetically of how our axes look. Trip, my bad. There you go. Right, so this is something that was released in that Substack. I'm excited for personally, the cosmetic difference in an Axie, to then be like, okay, yes, this is my Axie, mate, because yours doesn't look like mine. I think is a very important part of of this game. The words that are used in a lot of descriptions recently about kind of what we want to gain from Axie as a game, being able to give that intrinsic value. This is one of those areas that covers massively for me. You've been able to have an Axie that uniquely is yours, and then can represent your play style through a deck as well, is like, it would be the ultimate goal for every player, I would imagine. So this is an exciting thing to talk about. I don't know how much you guys know about it, but obviously in the update they said that this is something that they're expecting, they're working hard on right now. Do you have any estimations for how long it might take for something like this to come out?
It's hard to say,
No idea.
honestly. Yeah.
Dude, I don't know if
And,
Cairo remembers. I'm waiting for when Masamune will update the Goda mouth design, bro. I think I'm waiting for that for now.
Oh yeah. Well, I think collectors need a huge, they need a huge like arm around the shoulder. They need a hug. They need something right now. I think I get focused heavily on the game and the meta and stuff like that, because personally I'm just not a collector. Like I collect certain Axies that have value to me, but in terms of being able to find these niche Axies that hold value for whatever reason. I know if you want to ask Cairo something, he knows fucking everything about collectible Axies and stuff like that. So but it seems to be an area of the game that hasn't had much love recently. And yeah, like you said, would you like to see some aesthetic changes?
If I can recall, I do remember. I can't exactly remember where it was. I think it might have just been a Twitter thread. And I do know it was mentioned that in the same way that the Lunacy and Summer had all these parts which had the
Animations.
special effects, the animations and all of that. I do remember it was mentioned that that's also planned to be kind of retroactively implemented with like maybe the Christmas parts. The Christmas parts have animations even.
Yeah.
So it's nothing we haven't seen before. But then definitely a lot of the good stuff we've seen today, there's no reason it couldn't be retroactively implemented for like things like Mystics, things like Japanese
Dude,
Axies.
like
Yeah.
I was thinking like I only have one collector Axie, a Japanese Axie, and I was thinking like something like part upgrades on a Japanese Axie, like upgrade the other parts to just go with the Japanese parts, and this is going to be so exciting, man. Especially if they introduce like animations, as I think it was Masamune who mentioned about the animations thing. Like other collector Axies will also get the animations and stuff.
Yeah.
So yeah, it's going to be super exciting, man.
Yeah. Hey, and on that conversation a while ago about opportunities for people in the community, all of you artists out there, get some ideas out. For all you design something that could be a potential upgrade for a part, it might even be considered. So it's just put yourself out there. Is the suggestion.
Yeah, I think this is something I've seen in Valorant. I believe I haven't followed any other game that much, but like there have been artists making like stuff, and that has been introduced in the game as praise, and just even in Fortnite, like they introduced like emotes and stuff that the community created, right?
Yeah.
So yeah, like the floor is open for all the artists in the Axie community also, and there's like so many good artists we have.
Yeah, I think you guys being here today kind of personifies that anyway. You put your passion and your talents out there, and look what happens from it. So to anybody, that floor and that front is always open. I'm kind of interested and want to play a little guessing game right here with you both, and obviously the guys in the chat as well. Community, get involved. I think it's probably self-explanatory, but I want to see where your heads are at anyway. We're gonna guess every single part that is on this screen right now, and I want to see how many people will agree with it. I think it's quite easy to go with part number 1 right here on the horn of this aqua. What do we think? What do you think though? What do you think?
That has to be Orlando.
It has to be a randa. 100%. Now the back part, this is an interesting one, but it's got to be an
Anemone.
Yeah, it's gotta be anemone. Are we saying that this tail is an advancement of koi? Yeah.
Yeah, it looks like koi.
Yeah, could be. I don't know. It
Could be a Navaga.
could be Koi. Could be yeah.
Nah, I'd say Koi. I'd definitely go.
I don't know. I think
Yeah,
it
that's
feels a bit of a
definitely
toss-up.
Koi.
I couldn't say.
Yeah. Now this is the hard one. This is the only hard one. Because I'm gonna say that's Piranha and that's Telescope, right? But what is
Inkling.
this here? You think this is Inkling?
Inkling, I think. It
I
looks
think
like
it's Gil.
Inkling.
I want to say Gil.
Chat, what do we think? Because I know you like this one's hard, bro. This is actually a hard one. I have no idea what part this actually is. I wanted to say Small Thrill at some point.
You know, it could.
Axie
It
Squadron.
could be. There is no guarantee that that's a 7 out of 7 Aqua.
Yeah. Oh, true. Yeah. No. Well, got a little special close up of him. Didn't mean it, but this second one, this is the GOAT. G-Ho's tweeted this yesterday. This is my favorite looking one from the images that we got released. Now, the back is pretty self-explanatory. I think you can go with watering can, even though it looks much more like a teapot now. What do you? I mean, the mouth. You want to take a stab at it? I know what I would guess.
All right, that's gotta be herbivore.
Herbivore, yeah.
Yeah.
The eyes. Are we saying that these are now not cucumbers?
Onion slices.
But they're onion slices, yo. That's kind of. I'll tell you what. The fact that the Axie's crying as well kind of makes me feel like, yeah, these are definitely, there has to be some kind of onion. But yes,
I wonder
slice.
if the card name changes with the upgrade. Like,
yeah,
will this be called as onion slices now?
Yeah. I think that would be nice incorporation, though, don't you think? Like having different card art just because of cosmetically how your Axie looks. Like, I really want to have that kind of feeling that this Axie's different. Like, this is a different Axie. Like, even though we are using the same actual skill in terms of like how this card interacts. Like, I want to be able to see an actual different card. You know how you were a kid and you would collect Pokemon cards or Yu-Gi-Oh cards or whatever it might be, like, and getting a shiny card, like, you might not have understood anything about the game, but you'd be like, oh, this one's shiny. It makes it that special for you. So I think it'd be interesting to see that these Axies actually get that implementation in their card art as well. Hopefully, we can hope, right? We can hope. Some people are saying potentially Sleepless, but I think I'll go with Cucumber Slice.
Yeah, I agree with Axie Cowboy. I think it could actually also be confused just because of the spirals.
Ooh, yeah. No, that's fair enough. It is definitely fair enough, but I'm gonna stick with Cucumber Slice for the onion slice. Jaatster, you with the onions with me, or?
Yeah, I think onion slices.
We got these onions. All right. I don't know what these ear parts are, though. I have no idea. Are we going to say this is leafy?
Yeah, upgraded leafy, it looks like. Like, it's not leafy, it's rosy. Not sure.
And it's got to be, obviously, we know this is strawberry. Ain't going to go on that one. The tail, though. One stab at the tail.
Yam?
Yam?
Yeah, looks like yam, I think. Yeah.
Yeah, it's yamming. It's yamming. This one's a lot of a fan favorite right now. This is the first time we've seen a nose on an Axie. Am I wrong? Wait, does Oleg have a nose? I think this might be the first nose I've ever seen on an Axie.
Yeah, Oleg has a mustache.
Doesn't Bubba have a nose?
The only other Axie I can think about that has a snout of sorts was the reptile one.
Yeah, the starter Axie, right?
On the starter Axies.
Yeah.
This is the first nose I've seen, so this is going to be interesting. Will this actually like evolve from a mouth card? Like it actually will act as a mouth card?
I think it's a like mouth, right? Maybe Goda converts into this.
I don't know.
What else does Beast have?
I really don't. Like, this doesn't make any sense to me. This what broke my brain a little bit, this one. So any guesses? I have no idea. Like, I genuinely have no idea.
Yeah, nah.
Can somebody please find out or try? Like, I need the leaks. This is a direct leak request, right? I need to know why there's a nose and where's the mouth, and if the mouth turns into a nose, can we just get a confirmation on that? Because I don't know what card this is. I have no idea. The rest of the Axie is interesting to look at. The eyes look a bit more innocent than anything. I would probably say that these are puppy, though.
Puppy? Yeah.
I agree. That's puppy.
Yeah. And then Zen potentially with a little flare on the ears.
Yep.
Hmm.
There's big ears. That's definitely Zen.
Uh-huh. Now these are what, like corners of like some biscuits or something? Like
It looks
think
like
that's
Pocky to
Pocky.
me. Yeah.
That's
Pocky?
Pocky.
Yeah. Pocky was like
Yeah.
aimed around like this sweet element as well, right? Or like some being like a I don't know.
Yeah, like even the Japanese part, if I remember correctly, like I think the Japanese ambassador X King Aruchan, he once described what the part was.
Is that a
like-
Pocky right there, bro? Sorry, Jaatster, to
It's
cut
just
you
the Yamaibo.
Yeah.
That's the one.
Oh, okay.
My first Japanese Axie had the Yamaibo part, and this is the Yamaibo.
Yeah.
Oh, that's the actual. That's what it's resembled off of.
Yeah, this is the actual one.
Swear down, I've never seen that, and I didn't know that. So you learn something new every single day. That's dope, though. That some of these cosmetics from the collector Axies are gonna be, if you think about 10 years from now, 5 years from now, like how scarce are they gonna be if we think about how many more Axies are gonna get bred up until that point? Like it's kind of mad still. I still think there's hope. There's a lot of hope for you collectors yet, mate. I definitely believe that. But just to continue, sorry, I cut you up in the middle of a point.
Yeah, I was just saying, like, I think that's Pocky's upgraded version.
Now this one, we saying timber?
Yeah, looks
I
like
wanna-
timber.
I want to see
Death
Timber.
Mark or-
That's a cleaver on
like-
his back. I don't know.
I don't know about
How'd I get there?
this like I don't know, Halloween upgrade is Friday like the 13th going on.
Like, like all the timber would got cut up, and now this is what's remaining.
That's what's
I guess.
left. Yeah, like he said, I ain't carrying it around no more, but I'm gonna carry this. So if you want to start anything, let's go. But
Yeah.
I mean, then would it be a shield? Like, are we potentially seeing a timber cosmetically upgraded from a defensive card, a shield card, into then becoming an attack card? So you can have the option to, turn what would be a defensive outlook of a beast into an offensive one. Because I mean, I have a pangolin beast that is perfect for pangolin, but it has timber, and if I could change my timber into an attack card, it would be an extremely more valuable Axie. Is that something that we might be able to see? I might just be throwing some absolute dog shit out there, but it might hit the wall and it might stick.
I think that's a super cool direction they could go with it.
Yeah.
The way I like to think about like part upgrades, and this is just my personal opinion. I don't know if anyone remembers the visual that was previously shown, which was like the branching upgrade parts, whereas like
Yeah.
the one part could go like one way or the other.
Uh-huh.
And like the first thing that kind of comes to mind is like if you think of Diablo, it was Diablo 3, where depending on like which rune or master you put on there, it would change completely the way that the skill would perform, right?
Yep.
So I can definitely see that like as an angle or like maybe possible inspiration. Obviously, they can go in whichever way they want with it, but I think that'd definitely create this possibility for players who, again, only have one team for whatever reason.
Yep.
Their reasons are to possibly kind of just like experiment and create like a more flexible experience
Yep.
through the upgraded parts.
That would be cool, man.
So
That would be really cool.
absolutely.
Well, we never know. Never know. Never know. You might, I love it. Absolutely love it. I need a chat moderator ASAP. Bro, they're killing me out here. All right. The last one, the tail. I actually don't know what that tail is. Are you gonna, like? Is this meant to be cattail?
I think it's something with the beast only. I think all pure axes are shown here, and
I don't know. I don't have no idea on that one.
Could it be rice? Like just a
Like
I don't know.
oh,
I mean,
that's a rice bowl.
Yeah, like no. Like I was gonna take the
Covered rice
standpoint of
bowl.
like rice comes from a plant, right? So it's like saying that the
rice.
plant kind of grew,
Rice.
like the rice grain is actually this is like the plant and it's got a leaf, but the rice grew.
Like
Maybe.
like it's a rice bowl covered in.
Nah, Jaatster,
Clothes or
you're going
something.
somewhere. I don't know where you. Oh, okay, maybe like a sushi roll almost.
Yeah, something like that.
Maybe potentially. That one's actually a hard one. I tell you what, if you got an idea for what that tail is, tweet me later today, and I'll tell you if you're an idiot or not. There you go. All right then, fam. But with that, yo, listen, guys, I absolutely, asked, for a better kind of showing from both of you. I genuinely appreciate you guys being here. I think we got to that point where we might have been here for a little bit too damn long. But you guys got to, meet them boys, bro. Meet them boys. The first one's really. Is this the first? I don't know. I might be correct. I might be standing corrected here. But you guys are like the first community members that are now officially employees by Sky Mavis. That's definitely wrong, right? Like I
think
swear,
Geo's was the first.
Geo's was like, yeah. I don't know where.
Technically, it would be Gio, wouldn't it? Because he popped into the Discord and just did what he did, and now he's where he is.
That must be mad though for him as well. Kind of seeing that, like, if that was his, and that kind of cycle kind of continuing, and again being the growth lead. That I mean, this is massively bullish from his side of things as well. So. I'm happy. I hope you guys are happy with some of the information you did hear from today. You now know that you have the opportunity to, have communication with guys who will serve as a bridge to communicate with Sky Mavis. You also may have now understood how much more complex it is when we talk about balancing and we talk about fixes, and that it's not so simple as an emotional decision or emotional opinion on a day and snap your fingers, there you go, we change stuff. So there was a lot to take away from the conversation today, and again, I appreciate both of you guys for being here. Is there anything you guys want to leave, last notes you want to send off on?
No, not
Just
really.
whatever's in your mind.
Exactly.
If it's regarding balancing, you have new ideas, just tag us in, man, and we'll be happy to take part in those conversations.
Don't be scared. Get them fingers moving and trigger fingers moving. And yeah, don't be toxic as much as I would normally encourage toxicity. Don't be toxic. All right. And with that, fam, we got to the end of this episode of Gila Gossip, bro. Momentous, Bran. I can't, I wasn't gonna have this episode at all. This was not gonna happen. So, to have the quick turnaround, I hope you will excuse some of the terrible overlay decisions I may have made today. But unfortunately, that's the reality of how shit rolled. But yeah, thank you guys for being here. Special shout out to you guys in the community. Definitely don't check out what Chat69XYZ put in the chat. And I hope you guys have a brilliant rest of your day. And the weekend's coming. I'm going to be in London. I don't know if anyone else here in the chat is going to be in London, but it's going to be nice to be able to see some more Axie people in person again this weekend. I've been spoiled. We had Barcelona and I was able to go to AxieCon, and now we're having London, which is not too far away from where I'm at. So I guess I'm lucky. I will take as many photographs and documentation as I possibly can. I might make some videos of them, whatever. But yeah, I'm glad we had it. And I'll see you through your window, mate. I tell you what, well, I won't be able to see you guys. Actually, I got one question. I was about to bounce. I got one question. So now that it's an official employee of Sky Mavis, like, you guys are still able to compete on the leaderboards? Or
no rewards, anything.
We can compete, but
the rewards are
like,
just like
reward.
That's fine. I like that, because if it was like the point where you guys are now official employees now, like, you can't play the game, it's like, well, how do you expect them to be in tune with anything? So I just wanted, I needed to clear that out. It might have been a brain fart on my end, but I needed to clear that out for sure. So you guys can still compete. I can still see you in the arena, but the AXS rewards won't be delegated. Okay, that makes sense. Yeah, makes good sense. Yeah, family. Well, I always get to this point and it's like, I really should just close the show off, and I just kind of want to talk a bit more. But no, thank you guys. I genuinely appreciate you being here, and I will catch you next week. Next week, Friday, it will be. This was a Thursday episode, but we will be here next Friday. And again, make sure that if you haven't, go and check out the 1437 conversation that we had on the weekend. There was a lot of things that, some things we spoke about today, they were enhanced and spoken about in a bit more depth, especially when gameplay regard. And yeah, make sure to subscribe to the channel so that you see when we go live. And I appreciate everyone's support so far, man. You guys you're lit. So with that, we're gonna get out of here. Peace.
Thank you very much.
Thank you very much for having us, Gila. It's always a good time.
You're always welcome, brothers. Love. Yo, play that shit, bro. We can't be going out silent, man. Play something for me right now. This is exclusive. Yo, I made this in the studio a few weeks ago, so I hope you enjoy it. It's been your boy Gila. We had Hale, we had Jaatster, and it's lit.
Stepped in the club like money Mitch did. Yo tryna ask you I'm coming in with. She just wanna fuck when the night gets lit. All night tryna ride on stick. And bro try ask was a physical contact. Most already hit, I just read on my contract. Girl try ask why they be in contact. Be the pussy or pen spy, I'll make her
Right, they
sick.
can't hear me, but thank you guys.
Her friends hate me, but she still sick. The girl hate me, but she
I'm
still
gonna
sick.
message you individually and we'll get in touch.
Her
But
friend bad mind, but she still sick. The girl hate me, but she still sick. Unknown to you, but known to me. Not bad for you, but bad for me. You say she bougie and she's classy, but to me the baddie speak. No caller, so she knows it's me. I phone her phone, she holds the heat. I lick her me, she holds
Yeah, thank
the
you,
heat.
Gila.
I lick up, I
Cheers.
phone her something.
Thank you, man.
Doctor tryna diagnose me. I'm the best to be real and I can't get better. I had a girl show a 10 out of 10 and she tried to say I'm down, but I just couldn't let her. I tried force, but it just didn't work, so it just didn't match like Hansel and Gretel. She on me grill, backpack days with a pedal. I need patch streets with a kettle. I need me a kettle that's bust down, bust down. She didn't wanna show love back then when I was coming on the brat down, bust down. Told her it's down, no love is lost now. Us frozen, bust down. Is she wanna clear all the frost out? Or the bros wanna bring all the fuss out? And she wants to see when I hide in the club like money Mitch did. Girl tryna ask you I'm coming in with. She just wanna fuck when the night gets lit. All night tryna ride on stick. And bro try ask was a physical contact. Most already hit, I just read on my contract. Girl try ask why they be in contact. Be the pussy or pen spy, I'll make her sick. Her friends hate me, but she still
oh
sick.
man, yo, you
The
lot
girl
got
hate me, but she still sick.
you got the heat today.
Her friend bad mind, but she still
man.
sick.
Big congratulations to them.
The girl hate me, but
It's
she
huge,
still
man.
sick. She just wanna stay in my
It's actually
section.
massive,
She just
bro.
wanna ask my
You have to
question.
think about
She
this,
just wanna
man.
have some
Like
attention.
actual community
But I don't wanna
members,
give
like
girl
me and you,
attention.
like put themselves on a stage and delivered their, you know, their passions, their talents, and then now sitting in an official role, man. That's like that makes me so bullish on this community, man. I cannot express it enough. Again, thank you guys for being here. If you want to just chill in here, you can. I'm probably not going to disappear anytime soon. Let's go through some music, you know. Hope you like this. If you like, didn't know, you know, we do some production in the studio. This is a bit of C's work.